What's going on, everyone? I am Alex at the Sypnotix, and we have a smartwatch here. This is the Trevit smartwatch, and the company Trevit reached out to us, and they wanted us to take a look at this watch. And that's not unnormal. I mean, we get hits on our media relations page all the time with companies, OEMs, wanting us to review their stuff. But something unique about Trevit is they are a Canadian company, and the email felt a little bit more personal than what we're used to. The owner reached out, and she was telling us about why Trevit was founded, and the company was basically here to provide smartwatches for people who didn't think that they wanted one or didn't think that they could even get one. And it was based off of a recollection of a memory revolving around the joy of her mother obtaining her first Apple Watch. So Trevit's founder aims to kind of provide that same experience to everyone else through affordable means. Smartwatches should be accessible to everybody. So even though Trevit sent this to us, they are not going to be reading or watching this prior to our publication. You will be the first ones to hear my thoughts of this smartwatch. I've been using it for about a month now. And let's jump into it. Let's give you my thoughts. So to dive into what the smartwatch actually can do, we first have to find out what it actually is. So to identify the watch, just turn around, and you can see right there, GTS 7 Pro. Trevit is an official reseller of this watch, which you might have been able to see in different areas. GTS 7 Pro is a very popular watch. And a Chinese maker makes this, and they license it to different companies. Trevit is one of them, and they serve the Canadian market and I guess North American market. You can also get it here in the US. And I think what we can basically discern from this is that Trevit provides extra value in a way, or protection, because they basically enhance the experience of this watch through like direct customer support through their website, or a 1-year warranty that you usually don't get when you purchase these Chinese watches and import them overseas yourself. So from this point forward, and for the rest of our review, we're going to be calling this the Trevit smartwatch. So this tier I am very familiar with. It's one of those things where you get longer battery life, usually this kind of like square looking body, and some of these Chinese things like the notifications not really reading as well as they should. These are staples of this category. However, these watches have improved a lot over the last decade that smartwatches have really taken over the mainstream. So just strictly looking at the advanced health monitoring capabilities of the Trevit is already enough for me to say, hey, this has a lot of value to it. So every smartwatch has to have health tracking, and this one has a 3-channel dual color heart rate sensor. The heart rate tracking as well as the live exercise heart rate monitoring seems relatively accurate. There's sleep tracking, there's stress and mood, and then there is also women's health monitoring, which I didn't do there for obvious reasons. But yeah, there's a lot of tracking that this thing can do here. If you look at the settings, you can take a look at all the things that it can run. And we'll talk about some of these things in depth because they do a few things that are somewhat interesting. It's the basics of a modern smartwatch, a fitness tracker in 2025, and this Trevit watch basically provides all that stuff here. There are 2 additional downloadable implementations that I've never really used or seen on a smartwatch. We're going to run a test after I stop talking, but you can see right here, blood pressure and blood glucose. So I've never seen this run on other smartwatches before.
Pretty close.
130/80.
130/88.
130/88.
Yep.
But if you can run a quick blood pressure check or a quick blood glucose check anywhere out there without bringing a machine or tethering yourself to something, that's a huge game changer. I do also want to say that RemiFit, the app that tethers this watch and gives you all the information that pushes through, it does say that these functions are designated as study only. So take those numbers with a grain of salt, and I wouldn't really rely on this for proper measurements, but if it even provides a ballpark that's within a ballpark of your true reading using a real machine, I mean, that is somewhat beneficial to somebody out there. So it really is cool to see that here. So let's give a quick overview of the smartwatch. this is the main tile here. You can switch watch faces. I'll show you a couple of them on the app later. But this one, you've got the time, you got the calories, step count, the date. There is a abundance of interesting watch faces. Some of them are in Chinese only, so you can't change those. You can't edit these either. Unlike the premium options where you can rearrange tiles and change some of the settings on your tiles, you can't do that on this watch face. Swipe left, you get kind of like a widget area. We got the My Score, which I'll go in depth about in a second. Then you got activities, event reminder, weather, basically all of the stuff, the quick access of your widgets. You swipe down, you get your quick settings. Here is the main setting, so you can kind of see what we have here. Then if you swipe to the right, then you start toggling through your cycle of tiles, and you see weather, you see activities, you see audio control. You basically get all that stuff here. Let's take a quick look at this activities though. Activity tile is very similar to what we see in a lot of different watches nowadays. You have your rings that you want to fill with your step counts, your active activities, stuff like that. And then you have your steps, your exercise, your stand, basic stuff. So if you swipe from the bottom up, this is where you get your notifications. And as you can see here, this is very standard to what you see in a lot of Chinese smartwatches and one of my personal pet peeves. Look at that. So it cuts off the words. And in a lot of them, if it goes, I think, 30 words or more, it gets cut off. And it goes ... so you don't see the full message. You can't actually scroll through it like a premium option will allow you to. This watch here, you could see the word your on this. They cut it off. Instead of spacing it so that they are all together on one line, they strictly cut off the word and continue the letters on the next line. So it makes it very hard to read. The legibility is very poor. It's not subjected just to this Trevit watch. A lot of these Chinese watches in this category all kind of have this similar issue. That's why I don't really like reading notification or text on any of these types of watches. They need to fix this. Unfortunately, it's just a staple of these types of watches. There's sleep monitoring, there's different activity tracking, sport tracking. Let's take a quick look at one of these right here. You do a countdown, and we have basically three things right here. You have your BPM, your heart rate, and then you have your calories, and then also a timer of how long your activity's been. Basically, any activity that you're tracking has these three things running. Nothing too out of the ordinary, nothing too special, nothing too unique about this. It's all straightforward, and all the activities are essentially tracking the same stuff in the same type of layout. You see that? So yeah, very straightforward here. So hardware-wise, you do see on the frame we have two buttons here. This is a crown. It's a rotating crown, which is cool, kind of like the Apple Watch. You can rotate it. You can see I'm scrolling through. It's not as smooth or intuitive as the Apple Watch one, obviously, but the ability to even have this on here is a game changer. At least it operates it, and latency's a little off, but hey, you know what? I'll take it any day of the week. It is pretty nice, and there is a little bit of a buzz, a haptic feedback here. Once again, it's not a great haptic feedback, but at least there is one. So definitely impressive. I like this a lot. Then the second button here is a programmable button. I program it to show my heart rate, the heart rate tracking. So you can program this to a multitude of things right here. For such an inexpensive price tag, having a watch fully constructed of metal, although the bottom is a type of polycarbonate, it's still this aluminum alloy around the frame and the build of it is very good. And I'm surprised at just how light this actually feels on my wrist. Like, this watch isn't big. You can see it on my wrist here. It isn't big. However, it just feels so light. Sometimes I forget it's here. It's so comfortable, I don't remember it's here. So that's a major selling point for me. It's very light and very unobtrusive. And I do like the look of it. It does have that Apple Watch look, so I am a fan of square watch faces, and this one does look good. The display is also pretty good. This is a 1.97-inch AMOLED panel with a resolution of 320 by 382p. So there's actually really minimal bezels around the watch face here. So it does make it feel larger, and it looks larger than it should. And I do think that it's not too reflective. The pixel density actually makes it really compact so that you can read everything really sharp. Look at that. The text just looks really easy and sharp to read. So everything is legible in that manner. So this is the Run Me Fit app that the watch uses to connect, and you can see the various watch faces you can go through. There is a watch face store. I'm using air quotes because really this is all. There's no like, I don't know if these are different makers at all actually, or different authors that publish it, but there's a handful of them. But once you go through the list, that's really it. There's no more you can find on a weekly or monthly basis, at least not that I've seen. There's some decent ones here. Some of them are in Chinese, unfortunately. So once you switch it, you're not going to be able to read it if you don't read Chinese. But I do have to say, like these, unfortunately, you cannot change the I guess the tiles on the watch faces themselves or the categories like you would on an Apple Watch or a Pixel Watch. You can't customize the zone. So you can see right here, I am loading up a new watch face, and it will pop up in a second right now. So as I was saying, you can see it just loaded up here. The AMOLED display is really nice. Look at that picture. It is really sharp and the colors do pop off. However, you can't customize these things. So this is in Chinese. If you can't read Chinese, well, unfortunately, there's a bunch of these watch faces you won't be able to use. Going off of the rest of the stuff, you have your notifications. Here's the exercise stuff. You can see it can track your exercise. You can track how your walk, your GPS takes your walk, all that stuff will push to this where you can have a record of it here. And then also your health tracking, your steps, your miles, all that stuff is all here. So let's take a look at one of the main selling points of this watch, and that's This is a, basically I would call it a body battery tracking. So one thing I loved about my other smartwatches, especially from Garmin is one of those watches that really did a great job doing this, is they give you like a score of how you should be feeling. Basically, imagine if your body was like a smartphone battery and you charge it to 100% in the morning, right? So throughout the day, whatever you do, whatever you input into your body, it'll affect the score for the next day. That's kind of what we have here with the score tracking. So it takes into account like things like your sleep, if you worked out, your step counts, things like that, and it'll give you a score. And you want to hit a certain range. Obviously, 80 to 100 will make you feel better. 60 to 80, 0 to 60, those are the different ranges. And your sleep tracking definitely accounts for this, so you have to wear your watch to sleep. And that might be a potential issue to some people because this watch only has about a battery life of 5 to 7 days. When I first started talking about this watch, I was mentioning this category of this watch. Some of these Chinese smartwatches last 30 days in this form factor. This does have a lot of sensors, so if you use it normally, you do drain it a lot more. So I do understand maybe why. I would have loved to see this have twice the battery life, hit maybe like 14 days, so 2 weeks. I think that's very reasonable. So 5 to 7 days is a little low. And my last thing that I don't really like about this is the charging mechanism. So you see the 2 magnetic pins right here. It uses one of these flimsy pin magnetic chargers. It has to go the right way, or you have a magnetic force pushing against it. You see the 2 pins right there? It has to clip on. And this is so easy to pull off. I hate these things. So I would have liked to see a puck or, even better wireless. But, for such a cheap watch, unfortunately, this is the type of charging you have here. It is, even laying it down, sometimes it falls off. So, yep, you see it fell off. So the last thing we're going to talk about is the band. So this uses a standard 22 millimeter watch band, and it uses the same standard mechanism that all your regular watches uses. And when you are buying this, you can choose between a silicone, a stainless steel, or a leather band, and it doesn't cost more than one or the other. So that's interesting. I have here this, and I don't really like it. It is a little flimsy. So the beautiful thing about having a regular watch mechanism is that the pin mechanism can be used with any other watch band. So I did have this one here that I purchased myself for some of my other regular watches. And I love it. It just feels so much more comfortable, and having your own customization to it. You can use basically anything you want. It's not proprietary. So nice there. So I could envision like a parent or a teenager, someone non-traditionally savvy with tech, adapting to the smartwatch on their wrist pretty easily. And if that was Trevit's mission statement, to bring accessibility to a segment of consumers who might never have seen or heard of this watch or even got their hands on it, I think they did a good job choosing this watch to bring to the market in Canada and North America for these people, because this watch actually provides a lot of good value. It really does. Once again, I'm Alex from Sypnotix. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think of this watch, the Trevit smartwatch, and I'll see you guys in the next one.